What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we have to talk about a pretty disturbing thing that Ubisoft is doing right now, right? In the removing games. Now, this was a thing about a week or so ago, or whenever we learned about the 15 games, right? 15 games are going to be shut down. The online connectivity for them, right? They never said anything specifically about the games themselves. They said that the online components of these games would be shut down, which was still a big deal, right? Because the online is part of it. It is a thing that happens. Different games in the past have had their online, servers kind of shut off. It's always disappointing. It's almost a mourning period when that stuff happens. So it's not the worst. It's not like we've never seen it before. I guess that's probably the way it should be. However, this is something that is one of the first times we've seen this, and definitely not a good trend. And that is the Assassin's Creed Liberation HD game is getting removed entirely. Now, this was part of the 15 games. This was part of the 15 games that they said the online components would be shut down. But they said you'll be unable to link Ubisoft accounts in-game or use online features. And these are, I think a lot of these 15, if not all of them, are PC versions. A lot of actually the console versions are staying, but the PC versions are mostly affected here. Additionally, the installation and access to DLC will be unavailable. So again, you're talking about DLC, which is bad. I mean, again, that's very, very bad that you're literally saying, well, DLC for these games you're not allowed to play, even though you bought them. So you bought them, and they become nothing. This is the whole argument for, that you don't actually own anything, including myself. I own movies digitally. I use that word lightly. I own games digitally. Again, we don't, and I do believe this and agree with this. We don't actually own them. We don't. I believe, what's like the phrase? Like, we have basically a certificate or like a license to use it. That's what we have. We don't actually own it in our hands. We own a certificate that says, yeah, we're allowed to do it for now, but if you ever pull it, well, that's totally up to you. Like, we can't, even though we gave you the full price money, we can't do anything about that. That's the situation in life. And that's with music, with movies, with games. That's what it is. And obviously there's a big pushback to that. And I've never been like a huge fighter in that sense. Like, I've never really spoken up about it. But I've always believed, even though I kind of do with what's I don't know, cheap. I'm a cheap kind of person, in a non-negative way, I guess. But no, I just kind of flow with it, right? And if something is cheap, say on PlayStation Network or whatever, I'm more willing to do that than get a disc. Like, I get, maybe it makes me a hypocrite, it probably does, but that's just the way I go. But I do agree with the whole, physical versus the media thing. So again, this game is getting completely, it's getting completely removed. So it's not the online, it's not DLC, it's an actual game. Now, this is part, I believe, of like a remaster collection thing. So there is another way of getting it on PC, but you'd have to buy something else. I think you'd have to buy Assassin's Creed 3, which costs $40. And if you buy that, this comes with it. So it's like a bundle deal. So you could still get it, but you have to buy something else. I mean, if you already owned it, you already owned it. Again, it goes back to that argument. I mean, I don't want to retread that, but it does suck. I mean, Ubisoft is not, because this is the thing, all right? It's actually what I just said, right? This is always the worry, that at some point, these big mega corporations, now not necessarily Ubisoft, I don't think people necessarily thought of them, but at any point, one of these big distribution giants could pull the plug, literally at any moment. And again, music, movies, games, you don't actually own them if you don't, have the disc, the physical version. So they could pull the plug at any time. And the argument's always, well, like, hopefully they never, really the argument is, hopefully they never do it. And also, like, the accessibility, it's easy, it's cheaper. Like, obviously, those are solid arguments, right, for why you can and should buy it that way. But, of course, again, the main wrestling is like, well, what if they ever take it down? The argument against it is, well, hopefully they don't. Hopefully they're nice to us and they care about us, as if companies could care what we think, right? So this is Ubisoft taking that step, that almost like unspeakable step that people just hope nobody ever does. And Ubisoft's like, and maybe it's like a glitch or a bug. Like, Ubisoft, at the time I'm recording this video, Ubisoft didn't respond. So it's possible they made a mistake. It's possible that, like they wanted to like nuke an element of this game, not the full thing, and so it was a mistake, and maybe they'll put it back. I feel like maybe that'll happen. I also feel like Backlash, I mean, this has happened before with like PlayStation things, right? And not as bad, but it's happened, and there's been a major backlash, and Sony has like corrected course only after people complain. See, again, that's also, I do think that's an issue. Like, if this is resolved, it's only resolved because we spoke up. It should have never happened in the first place. You know, like that's the catching point with me. It's like, well, it never should have happened to begin with, but now that it has, now we have to make a big deal about it, I guess, on Twitter, because that's where the world lives, a small minority of the world. We have to make a big stink about it there, and then they'll fix the problem, and they'll pretend like it never happened, right? So definitely bad. I mean, this is really bad. You don't want companies to do this. Again, this is that kind of unspeakable act. At any point, a Sony, a Microsoft, a Nintendo can say, yeah, we're done. You know, like, you can't get these things, or, you know, whatever. And you paid. That's the thing. I mean, and maybe it is because I'm cheap. I'm like Mr. Krabs, if you guys don't know me. I'm like a Mr. Krabs kind of type. I mean, like, you paid for this. Like, you gave money. And, again, like, I get servers shutting down and stuff like that. I mean, it is tough. It's tough, you know, for like PS3 or Xbox 360 games, let's say, you know, when the servers shut down. I mean, you own it, so like part of it was an online component was part of the game, so you are losing part, but at least you can still play the game as long as it had like a single player thing. I mean, if you're telling people now though, hey, look, $40, $60 that you spent, sure, it was 10, 12 years ago, but whatever, I don't care. You spent, you know, $40, $60 a while ago, and we're taking it, like, you literally cannot touch it ever. We're taking it away. And that's awful. You paid the money for that. And you can never do that to us for things that, like, I own, like, 150 PS3 games. You can never take those from me. I own, they're in my, in my closet. You know what I mean? They're there. And that's the problem with it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, so you know when all these videos go up. I hope to see you all on tomorrow's video.